All right, welcome in. Here we are. It's another week at the Tasker podcast studio. We got all these bright lights. I just turned that one off and turned it back on, and now it seems like we're like getting blinded out of here. Paul Wagner, how are you doing, pal?
It feels like a studio.
It feels like a
studio, doesn't it?
One day at a time. Every week that we do a new episode, there's going to be something else added to the studio.
Exactly. Makeup.
Yeah. Eric Tasker here. This is the Flippin' Sticks and Throwing Lead podcast. We are just doing another quick intro here. 3 weeks in a row that we've got interviews, and this was another one that paid off from ATA. We actually, the first day that we were there, we kind of walked around for a little while, and then we ended up at a food plot company, a seed company. And what most conversations were like 10 minutes, this was probably an hour and 10 minutes. And as we always like to do, we like to highlight Wisconsin brands. So MONSTERBUCK Seed Company is neighbors with Menards, another company in the state of Wisconsin that pretty much everybody knows. We had a nice long conversation with them just about some challenges and pH levels and soil testing and like appropriate timing, just a lot of different things that we talked about at their booth at ATA. We asked them to jump on the show. That interview is happening today. So we have a long list of different questions to go through with them. Wags, I know you got a lot of things to ask.
They did so good. We asked them so many questions at the show, and we took up so much of their time. I had to apologize because there were people walking behind us, and we continued to talk and ask questions. A wealth of knowledge, family-run business. Dad was there. Cody is such he's super wicked smart, and the things that he knows, and you just can't get into it because he'll be talking over our heads so much. But right. In that conversation that they took the time to have with us, it was just incredible. As you know, and if we've talked about, my food plots are horror stories. Every year there's a horror story. I think we found the answer. I think we found the right steps to cure it, and we're moving forward. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to the relationship we can build with them, and hopefully they can get us to the point where we have some positives on our food plots.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are starting to think about this right now, because whether that's, a couple weeks ago when we talked to Jared Mills about, frost seeding and just the appropriate timing for that, which I did look up the last typical frost date in our area here. I think it's May 13th. So he said working backwards 3 weeks from that date is when you can safely start frost seeding.
Well, we know here in Wisconsin, it is... We're getting about 20 inches of snow supposedly this weekend, and that's not even an exaggeration. Yeah. Unbelievable.
When I got home before, I was watching the news, and it said something about we're expecting feet of snow, not a foot of snow, feet of snow. It was just 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And here we are good prepping thing for that.
Yeah. Good thing I put my hunting stuff away. Got my turkey stuff out, but I don't know what this is going to do with the birds. And again, as we've always talked about, how does weather influence the wildlife? What is it going to do with the turkeys, and how is it going to alter their patterns? Is it going to delay the turkey seasons a little bit? Probably not. But if you're talking 1-2 inches of snow, we deal with it every time. But now we're talking, like you said, possibility of 5 to 8 one night, 5 to 8 the next night. You're talking 1.5 feet, possibly 2 feet of snow, where if that really does come down this heavy, you're going to see so much damage to trees, plants, and how it's going to affect the wildlife is just the time to come to see.
Yeah. And it's a confusing time. Can you imagine just not having a phone and knowing what's coming, and all of a sudden, like 3 days ago, a bird is walking around in the food plot at 70 degrees, sun's shining, it's beautiful outside, a little breeze. And then I heard, even tomorrow we're supposed to get like 50-mile-an-hour winds again. And it's just kind of a wild series of events here, which is pretty much on par for March Wisconsin weather.
We had it. Yeah.
We kind of get a run of the gambit here. So, but we dive into a lot of different things, and we already recorded the interview, and just as I'm kind of thinking back on it, I realized that his title was Master Agronomist. I didn't realize you have to actually have a master's to be a master agronomist. Is that the correlation that we made? I mean, he actually got his master's degree
at Iowa State. Yes.
Yeah.
So he went to school. He knows his stuff. Right. And when you get to know it, Cody, MONSTERBUCK, Elk Mound Seed Company, obviously agriculture-driven farming, which is his love, as he'll let you know. But again, the knowledge of him and how to plant, how to grow, how to maximize this and how to maximize that piece of property, just incredible. Just a mind that you could talk to forever, and he must get frustrated because people ask the same questions over and over. But again, it's a great interview and great people over there at MONSTERBUCK and Elk Mound. Look forward to, hopefully getting something going and getting a relationship with them so they can put me in the right direction.
Yeah. We also didn't really have like a timer rolling. And I at one point I was like, we've only been talking for like 30 minutes. I feel like we got to ask a couple more questions. Then I was like, I don't know how long we've been going, but we should probably wrap it up here. Like, we want to get you back to your time. And then all of a sudden, here we are. Boy, we get off the radio and we start doing our own thing. All of a sudden, the podcasts are twice as long as what they used to be.
And we still don't say anything that's worth it.
Oh, man. But before we jump into the interview, we just want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors. So HHA USA, in about a month, I think Chris sent out an email. I think we're like 6 weeks out from the Vortex visit. So I'm kind of putting this out there that any first responders that are listening, or if you happen to know a first responder, or if you know a veteran or a current service member that may be home, I think it's the third weekend of April. We have been asked and allowed to extend an invite to a first responder or a veteran that is a hunter or that is getting into hunting. It doesn't matter the level or ability, to receive a special VIP invite for that day. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, and it is at Vortex and at Deer Valley Golf Course. We would like to invite somebody to come along with us to go for that day. We've had a couple conversations with people, and there's going to be more of these events throughout the year, but it's a really cool opportunity and something we want to do to be able to get back to our first responders and to our veterans, being able to go and see, what is actually a really cool tour of Vortex Optics, and to be able to shoot your bow with a bunch of like-minded individuals, meet some other veterans, meet some other first responders. If you do have, if you are that person, or if you do know somebody, have them reach out. I guess you can just reach out to me. The email will be really easy. It's just back40, the number 40, media llc@gmail.com. I guess that wasn't as easy, but, and then Wisco Bow Hunting for Instagram. If you want to shoot me a message there, I'll be able to kind of facilitate that and get you guys all squared away. But we would like to, put that out there for our listeners and just see if we do have somebody local within the state or even outside of the state that's willing to travel in for that day. We'd love to meet you guys, and we'd love to share that experience with you. We did it last year, and it was so cool. I mean, it's just, when you get into some of these premier manufacturers that just have so many different things in place for quality control, logistics, everything. It's really cool to be able to see that. So, I got a bone to pick with Chris, though. It's my turkey week again.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it is. It's week 2 or period B. So it kind of throws me for a loop, but you know what? We'll figure it out, and we'll just try and get it done some other day. But so if you are one of those individuals, reach out to us one way or another. We'd be happy to hear from you. And then, Charisma Customs. The Charisma guys are on a cruise this week. That he asked me to go on many, many times. And I got a couple pictures and videos last night, and I think I was hurting from laughing so hard because of the riot that they have started ensuing. But, it's that time where a lot of people are thinking about getting details. I think last week I said, the snow's done for the year. If you want to get a detail done.
Yeah, we were wrong.
And then we were wrong, of course. So, but everything auto aftermarket, or if you're getting your boat ready, need to do a better stereo or any of that stuff to your boat, now's the time to get it in, because come a month or two from now, it's going to be too late, and it'll be pretty busy. So, anything else, Mr. Wagner?
Just remember, next week we start extra turkey tags. Turkey tags start for zones A, B, C, D, E, F, G, starting at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on the 15th, I believe that is Monday the 15th.
16th?
Monday the 16th.
Because Tuesday is St. Patty's Day.
17th, correct. So 16th, 10 a.m., I believe the Wisconsin DNR website opens up, and you can buy your extra tags. I believe it's $10 for a resident and $15 for a non-res. But
nice.
Tags will be available. Number counts are on there, so you should be. Obviously, the later seasons are more available, especially down in this zone than the early seasons. But check them out and get your extra tags.
And I actually got an email from the DNR. I think it was yesterday already, just saying, make sure you know your login, make sure you know your password, all that stuff, so that you can get in and get access to it right away on Tuesday. I mean, it's just nice that they do some of those reminders.
Yeah, very nice.
But all right, Cody from MONSTERBUCK Seed Company coming right up after the intro.
In Wisconsin, the stories start before sunrise. They start in a deer stand, in a duck blind, on the front deck of a bass boat. Welcome to the Flippin' Sticks and Throwin' Lead podcast. With your hosts, Eric Tasker and former Major League pitcher Paul Wagner, this is everything outdoors. Hunting, fishing, conservation. The wins, the misses, and the memories that stick with you for a lifetime. Out here, you earn your stories, and we're here to tell them.
All right, Mr. Wagner, we love to highlight Wisconsin brands, and as we teed up in the opening, from ATA, we had a lot of conversations. We had Jared Mills on a couple weeks ago. Last week we had a guest. It's like guest after guest after guest. So we're at the Tasker podcast studio, and one of the things that we have kind of repeatedly done over the course of the last couple of years is highlighted Wisconsin brands. Obviously, our partnership with HHA and HHA USA, was kind of the onset of that. But what we like to do is at least try and give a platform to some of the Wisconsin companies that are doing things in the outdoors in whatever capacity. So whether that's, clothing or gear, or in this case, agriculture related. And remember, I know this is a sensitive subject for you.
But I remember how we got here. So we're walking and we see this gentleman and we sit down and it says MONSTERBUCK.
Mm-hmm.
I sit down and talk to him and I said, "Sir, where are you from?" He goes, "You ever go to Menards?" And I go, "Yeah." "Do you remember this?"
Yeah.
I go, "I go to Menards." He goes, "Do you ever do that 11% rebate?" I said, "Yes, I do, sir." He goes, "We're there. We live in Elk Mound." That's what your dad said. So again, it's a Wisconsin company. It's a company that I was very intrigued. I'm glad we stayed there. I'm glad we talked. We had great conversations. We will elaborate as we move forward, but especially with all my issues and stuff. So it was a really warming, it was a great conversation. I believe there was all three of you guys were in that booth at that time. And it was just great getting hit with all this information way over my head, but anxious to learn more about it. So super glad you're here. Thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate it.
So Cody from MONSTERBUCK Seed Company, welcome to the show. Why don't you give us a little background of who you are, what you do there? I think your title is like Master Agronomist or something. I'm not even sure what that means, but it's something like that. Why don't you give us kind of the rundown of everything that you do there and give us kind of a brief overview of MONSTERBUCK Seed Company.
So MONSTERBUCK Seed Company is part of Elk Mound Seed. That is our outdoor lineup for the wildlife enthusiast. So my job entails procurement, which is bringing in the quality seed. It's obviously the main part of it. And then as far as I also do a lot of the sales, we got other guys here as well. And then, we do the online thing. So procurement, sales, phone calls. I mean, walk a lot of guys through consult, not like wildlife consults, but just walking them through soil tests and pH and the whole 9 yards. They asked me, well, where would you put this plot? And I'm like, I don't know where your stand is. Like, you told me that.
I'm sure you guys get a lot of questions.
We get a
like
lot of
that.
them questions. I'm like, I'd love to help you, but I mean, are you shooting 40 yards or are you shooting 400 yards? I don't know. Is this a bow hunting stand or is this a gun hunting stand? And they're like, well, I just want to hunt everything. Well, we get there's a lot of questions that we answer and stuff, and but by doing all that, so I'm kind of involved in a lot around here. Like I said, the procurement, sales, helping customers. You said master agronomist. I have my master's from Iowa State University, so they call me a cyclone.
We just talked to Jared, and Jared goes, I'm about a half hour south of Cedar Rapids. And I go, let me know, Hawkeye or a cyclone? And he goes, Hawkeye. Because I know how that state of Iowa separates and divides. It's either one or the other, and there is no love lost between Iowa State and Iowa.
Yeah, so I do have my master's out of their program, and it's just kind of really been, it's for what I do on the procurement side. It's nice, but it's more or less the relationships I build with the customers and helping them break things down on the agronomy side to figure out their food plots. A lot of them, look at a farm field and say, I want my food plots to look like that. And so I kind of started telling them, well, you're farming for whitetails. You're farming for whitetails. So here's what I put into an acre of fertilizer. Do you want to spend that much? Because I farm on the side. I have cattle too. So I can break it down on a customer side based off the agronomy side. And here's what I'm spending on fertilizer. Here's what I'm spending on chemical. Are you willing to pay this much to have the results that we get on a farm side? And once you break it down, and you might not need 230 bushel of corn to feed the deer. You might be happy with 120, so we can cut your fertilizer back. And when I tell them that, I said, I have to do on the farm side, we're looking at ROI, your return on investment. On the deer side, it's that shoulder mount on the wall. That's your ROI. So,
right,
like, we can sell you everything you need, or we can, do it reasonably. We don't need to spend all the money on it, So, yeah, that's just kind of a little bit about me. Usually,
do you do on-site visits, or are you strictly, do they submit plots, maps, aerial photos, etc., or do you actually take time and go look at people's properties?
I don't do the on-site thing.
He's not allowed to leave.
My dad,
he's got to stay there. Did you hear all the things that he does there? He's got a lot of jobs. He doesn't have time to go out and do field visits.
A lot of times someone will send me pictures and, we'll go off that. But even food plots, like, you wouldn't believe how many guys are like, yeah, I got a 1 acre food plot. And then you tell them, okay, here's what the seed's going to cost. Here's what the fertilizer. Well, I don't think it's that big. And we can literally go to Google Earth and map the plot out, and it comes out to about a half acre, and save them, the money that they didn't need to spend because it's actually the size that they didn't think it was. So as far as like offsite consulting, no, I don't do it that way. I just, pull up topos or, imagery and map that kind of stuff out. And
yeah,
I'll be honest, I'm not the best hunter in the world. I really enjoy farming, and I got into hunting. And when I was sitting there, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got all this other product stuff I can be doing on the farm.
Yeah.
You're listening to your cows moo a little bit, and the next 40 over, and you're like, it'd be really nice to feed them in the daylight rather than the dark. And so, but now my daughter's getting older, and we're doing a lot more hunting because she enjoys it. So now I'm really kind of getting into it. We're doing the food plots. I've been taking her for the last 3 years, so now we're having fun. And my other boys, they're 2 years old. Every time we walk in the door during gun season, big buck, big buck. So they're waiting for it now. So now it's kind of fun. And
That's
the trail
exciting.
cams, they all
That is
light up when they
exciting.
see the trail cams and see the photos. And so now I've shifted a little bit, and I'm hunting a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's almost a byproduct. I mean, when you're around this stuff all the time and doing farming as kind of a job or as a legitimate hobby, I guess a step beyond that. I mean, the byproduct is that wildlife will find that. And you can only go so many times. I don't care what your background is. You can only go so many times seeing a buck in a food plot and think, yeah, that's fun, until it's, man, I wish I was sitting in my tree stand right now.
Or I wish, like you probably are thinking, what could I put out there to make him stay a little bit longer? Or maybe, not come out at 6:30 to 7:30. Let's just give him something more to stay or do something. So I can just imagine how you're spinning, thinking food attracts. What can I do to attract these animals and make them stay?
Yeah, I mean, like even, when guys ask me what food plots I'm planting, I'm like, oh, I got 450 acres.
I'm actually planting everything.
Yeah, the food plot's kind of like
somewhere in that.
Eat. Yeah, we got a little clover plot here, but there's also a 23-acre field of alfalfa that we're going to cut 3 times a year. So like they kind of just move wherever they want. But yeah, now I mean, you're getting to the point where now you're changing the way you plant a 60-acre field because you're trying to get them deer out to the center instead of hanging on the edges. So change the way we're planting corn, change the way we're planting beans, which beans we're not combining, which beans we are, and just like that. Last year I put a cover crop mix in, and my cows were grazing it, and you would not believe the amount of deer beds that were in there. And it's like, okay, well, they really like this product, so I could definitely make a food plot blend.
Sure.
So, like,
that's awesome.
I'm like completely on the other scale of what most people are doing, and I'm learning as we go. And like, I send out some Snapchats to some guys, and like, dude, I want to do that for a food plot. Like, well, that really wasn't the intention, but it would definitely work.
It would work. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and it just helps too. If you guys ever get into a situation where you do want to like test some stuff, it's nice to have some of that area that, you could pull an acre off and you could just see what happens, or, maybe it's mixing a different blend or whatever it might be. I mean, that's got to help so much for you guys just for research and R&D purposes.
Yeah. True feedback right away.
It's
true feedback.
Yeah. Like when someone's, sees some harebrained idea on YouTube, and I'd be like, well, here was my harebrained idea, and here's what didn't work out of this project, because I got pictures on my phone of this jungle of product growing together, and something kind of gets snuffed out because of the competition factor. And even just being able to say, hey, if I would have planted this 15 days later, I would have done completely different. Because like last year we planted a mix, super nice. We had a super nice May, and then we got that cold snap right at like the beginning of June, I think it was, and that slowed the Milo down so much that if we would have waited till when you're supposed to, the 15th of June, it would have been a stellar plot. But I do things, and then I can tell people how not to do it.
Yeah. You mentioned Milo. We had a farm out in Kansas. Is a Milo a sandy? Why would somebody use acreage for production? And I don't know. Maybe the price per bushel, is corn and Milo similar in price, or is there a reason why someone would plant out in Kansas Milo rather than corn?
Milo is a dry land product, so it takes a quarter of the rain or water that corn does. So it's also pretty close feed value, I believe, um, for like we would call it like a direct replacement in a feed a bag for. I mean, you're not going to go out and feed them straight Milo instead of like shell corn, but um, from what I understand, like we're far enough north that it's not in our feed rations, but down south or mid U.S., whatever you want to call them, that canned grass area
Yeah.
that you're talking, um, they would utilize that grain way more in diet for cattle or pigs or whatever they're growing. So just because of the if it's
It,
dry land, if they're not irrigation or whatever, so.
Gotcha. It was really interesting to see it from being a Midwestern kid on how corn and beans are combined and taken down. And all of a sudden going out to Kansas and having the farmer come in and they lift. I mean, you know this, but I didn't. They actually somehow lift this and they just cut the heads off. They just cut those heads off and you still get a good cover. I mean, you still can kick deer out of there. Deer will still come out of there. It's not like a corn harvest that
Sure.
we see around here, whether a guy's taking it out for silage or what he's doing it for whatever. But when they did it and when they were taking these heads off the Milo, if I'm correct, it's still about 3 feet off the ground and they just cut those tops off.
Yeah, that's usually just for efficiency, so they're not running so much what we would call trash for the combine, slowing that
Oh,
down.
okay.
And the less trash you run through
Gotcha.
the faster you can go, but there's less going across your sieves to get trash into the
Makes
tank
sense.
to get in the when they're selling it, there's less trash in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, Mr. Wagner, where would you like this conversation to go? Because it's been years of you and I sitting in the redneck, scratching our head thinking, what the hell are we doing? It seems to be the same thing over and over again every year. And we've tried a couple different things. You know, you had somebody come out and help with equipment and everything last year. So where would you like to start this? Because
So,
this is
yeah.
free form for you to be able to get all your questions out and have a record of it.
I think when I was talking to you a little bit, I think we need to start from the beginning. You had mentioned, first off, the thing that you wanted is you wanted to know what my pH table, what my levels were. My question to you would be when we get you samples, because I want to get the samples to you, in this food plot, how many samples do I take? Where do I take it from? Is there a good time to take it? Do you take it in a dry? Do you take it when it's wet? Does it matter? And how in a, let's just say a 2 or let's just go 3 acre plot, how variant can the pH levels be from area to area, or is it just a one sample?
So, good question. It goes back to ROI for me. On a farm, I'm grid sampling everything on 2.5 acre grids. So, what that looks like is the field, an overlay of the field, and then, I'm not hand drawing this stuff out, but they drop a 2.5 acre grid, square grids on it or whatever, and then you pull them samples from everywhere. So what I like to do is when I'm sampling those where the GPS tells me to stop for that grid where I'm utilizing the GPS to pick that spot to grid. I drive the side by side over the location. I walk out about 10 feet and then I pull about 10 different cores around the side by side to get a representative sample of that area on a 2.5 acre grid. Because if you on the farm side, if you were banding your fertilizer and that spot picked right where you had your corn fertilizer in a 2x2 band, all of a sudden your fertility is going to look really good right there. But you average it out
It
by
makes sense.
by going around and getting farther away from one spot. So like 8 to 10 samples in a kind of like a 10-foot radius of your side by side is how I like to do it on a 2.5 acre grid.
And so that's with track record. This would be just a food plot that has been given fertilizer, and generically speaking, I'll throw not enough lime out. I will go 10, 10, 10 fertilizer with not knowing what my phosphorus counts or whatever those things. I don't even know. I just go 10, 10, 10 because
That's what the
some
package
random.
says to do.
So
Right.
that's what all I
Right.
do. So I guess there's no little area that's more fertile. It's not a, like you said, it's not a farming aspect. It's strictly a old farm field from the probably like the late 90s, and it's overgrown, and we brushed it out. So it hasn't been farmed in 25 years, but it's been a food plot. It's been a half-assed food plot. It's been a food plot that has failed in every single avenue, whether it would be forageability, stability,
Density.
yes, everything. Poor production, good production. Is the water, is it tilt? No. Is it sandy? No. It's a good, we've had good numbers and we've had bad numbers. It's just something where we didn't know, and I don't know. So packages or however you want to do it, you send it to me and I'm going to send you off, and you're going to tell me, damn, no wonder your food plots stink. You've been putting 10, 10, 10 in there. You got to put 0, 0, 100 or something like that.
Yeah, so that kind of going, I maybe didn't cover that very well. How many samples should you do in a food plot? Obviously, I like the 2.5 acre grid. That 2.5 acres on the east side versus the west side could be a different soil type, which also will hold different saturations of said product, whether it's the phosphorus or the potassium, especially where it comes back to with your ROI is the lime. Because on the farm side, I mean, we're putting 3 to 7 ton to the acre on. Your half the farm might not need lime, so you can take the money we're going to spend on them acres and double it up on the stuff that really needs it, and that's where you can really make a difference and move things along faster. And you can see that on the food plot side too. Like, the more samples you do, yeah, it costs you more money up front, but it's also the possibility of saving a lot of money on the fertilizer and the lime on the backside. So I mean, it's like, to me, it's like driving a vehicle that doesn't have a working gas gauge. If you're just trusting the odometer and hoping you're getting about 8 miles to the gallon with a pickup, that's where you're at. But if you really dial into it and save yourself some money.
Sure. I have a feeling that we're going to hear this word over and over and over again. And I know that, like, for me, I don't have a food plot that I have to worry about, but I have like my yard that I try and grow nice grass every year. And you hear lime over and over again. And what I know about lime is that it's critical to grow these food plots, especially if your pH is out of balance. But if you overdo it, you will burn off your food plot. Is that correct? Like, you'll kill your food plot if you overdo lime.
No,
Is that true?
No, that would be a nitrogen issue.
Okay.
Nitrogen can burn it. Lime won't. I mean, it'd be a lot of lime, and I don't think you could do it.
Sure. You'd go broke first. All right,
so what are the three? What is it? Nitrogen, potassium,
NPK,
phosphorus?
Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium.
Okay. And can you maybe just give us an overview of, like, how do they work together, or is one responsible for, like, the lushness of blooming, or, like, is there something that each one of those is responsible for, or do they all just kind of work hand in hand?
Up, down, all around.
Okay.
NPK up, N up, P down, K all around. So
okay, that's easy enough to remember.
And we're talking up. So if I need to raise my
no,
pH,
no. If you want, like, your corn takes a lot of nitrogen. It gets
you want
ball.
to grow high.
It gets ball.
I got
you.
Down, down your root system. Sandy soil. Obviously you don't want to throw too much phosphorus on sandy soil, but your phosphorus is what gets your root health. Gets your root health is what helps you obtain more moisture in a sand or a drought situation. So up, down, and then potassium. That's all your leaves, all your roots. The product that's actually producing, like the corn kernels that you'd be combining, or the soybeans. That's your all around. It's literally in everything. So
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. I think that helps because, like for me, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, Wags. He keeps telling me that he needs more lime, and I'm like, I don't know, man. But when you're ready to start throwing it out there, just let me know and I'll come by and I'll help. But I think we hear that so often, and you see that all over packaging, whether it's, the phosphorus or nitrogen or lime, whatever that is, and the different numbers that are associated with fertilizer that I don't know, maybe some people don't know what each one of them specifically do. So I think that's
just
helpful.
just an easy one.
Yeah. Okay, the questions are going to get harder from here.
Well, it's easy for you guys to remember. How about that? Not easy, but something that's relatable, up, down, all around.
So again, really simply put, once you get the data from the soil samples, you can say to A or B or Paul and say, you need to do this, this, and this. This is what we're going to raise it up. I want you to put 500 pounds of lime, or just making numbers up. And I want you to do this. And I want you to go with a 0050 or a 5000. This is going to get you to the ideal situation, because I believe that for your foraging and for your density and for the way your plots get beat up, I need more of like a forage. I need like I've heard beans and forage beans. I've heard Roundup Ready beans. I've heard all this thing, but I always believe that a forage bean or a forage crop is something that can sustain. It gets taken off early, but it rejuvenates. It continues to grow. If it's just a regular bean, if it gets clipped off, she done. And then this way, if you tell me what to put in here, do this, 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 and this is how you're going to fertilize it. This is how you're going to take care of it and maintain it. Boom. There we go.
Yeah, the soil test really allows us to tailor your fertilizer program to that grid or that plot, whatever you want to call it. If it's bigger than a 2.5 acre plot, that's how we're going to, if it's all pretty much the same, we're not trying to make it rocket scientists and, make it completely difficult on how to fertilize it. But a lot of times guys will come in with 5 or 6 different food plots. There's a sample for each one. They're all usually less than 2.5 acres. So you can do one sample site. But we'll literally take paper and say plot 1, 2, 3. Here's what we're doing on these fertilizer programs, and we'll change it up for each plot based off that soil test. So I really like the soil test.
Yeah, and so that maybe just walk us through. So we're at the very beginning phases here. All right, somebody comes to you. They're like, "Hey, we've just had problems with our food plot." Step 1 is soil test. Send it in. We'll kind of look through it. We'll see what we find out. And then will you typically just like call that customer then and walk through their results? Or do they get like just an automated report saying, okay, your pH came back at this, our suggestion is, or where do you go from there once you actually get that soil test back?
So once we get the soil test back, we send it off and have it tested at a really good lab. We've had really good results out of them, and guys have been happy. They're supposed to send you a copy. They don't always do it. Either way, we have access to getting them, and they stay on file. So we can always pull them back up year after year. And then we can, a lot of times, like someone will be on the phone, I'll pull it up on my computer and we'll just walk through it as they're looking at it, because I emailed it to them as we're on the phone, and we'll just walk through it that way.
Is that typically the easiest way for you guys to do that? I mean, I feel like there has to be a conversation at some point.
Yeah,
right?
That's usually the easiest way. Usually, like when they bring the sample in, a lot of times guys will bring it in like a Ziploc bag, and then we'll transfer it into the correct bag. And I can, just by looking at it and feeling it, and I can be like, oh, you're on sand. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, I can feel it in my fingers. And I can see why it doesn't hold moisture based off the color of it. It's not beach sand, but it's black sand that's probably going to drain pretty good, and you aren't going to have much water holding capacity. So that's where, if you're not in the farming world, you hear a lot about cover crops and organic matter and all this other stuff. And we kind of take the ag side and start building your fertility based off the products we put on the plot to increase your soil holding capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Just as we're kind of going through this, I keep thinking to myself, there is so much to learn about this.
Right.
I feel like there's truly just a lot that can go into it that, some people who really, really like put a lot of time and effort into it, I'm sure it can be consuming to an extent of, we're trying to really get this right and we just really need this to grow, and all of a sudden you get some big time TV show that's out there and they're like, well, if it doesn't look good, then we look bad. And I feel like there is really a lot that does go into it, which I'm not surprised by. I don't know that I'm smart enough to figure it out.
No, and you probably can, if that western part of the state is more black sand or whatever, you can probably tell geographically. I'm centrally located. I'm between Milwaukee and Madison. Okay, that area is a farmland zone, so you're probably going to have this type of, like you said, you can just feel it, look at it, and touch it, probably smell it, and tell me exactly what's in it. But when you send it out, you'll get the real breakdown of it, and you'll be like, usually a simple fix. We'll go over it. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to spin this in there, put this line, continue to do that twice, run it, and you should be fine. And I'm assuming that it's pretty easy, obviously, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy helping people. So, no news is good news in my book.
Yeah. I can see. Well, yeah, I usually get the bad news from Legs when he's like, these damn deer.
We got to shoot them because they eat so much. Yeah. They eat so much. And I don't know if that's a problem that you see or hear a lot of. Is the main concern with people, I'm not saying a complaint, but the main thing that you hear, is it over foraging? Is it not enough? Or is it not enough? Is it not growing? Or did the drought kill it? Or it seems like down here, it's never really necessarily about lack of product. It's the amount of product. The product gets consumed so fast because we have smaller plots. You're talking 60 acres. Down here, we're talking 3-acre plots everywhere, and they just get crushed.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to that, guys come in, it's getting hammered. I can't keep up to it. If you ever like taken a chunk of fence and put a fence around any of it to watch how it'll actually grow without pressure?
No, we didn't do that. And somebody had recommended putting those solar panels up just to zap them a little bit and just kind of see it. And I've never.
We've even had guys just take like, you go to like your local farm and fleet or whatever, and they've got them 20-foot cattle panels. You bend it round in a circle, and then I got to use wire. I don't think a zip tie would hold it. But then you just set that out there, and like they won't jump into that little circle, but the product in there grows, and you can see what it was supposed to look like because it didn't get foraged on. And I seen it up at a guy up north. We were bear hunting up there, and it was a brassica plot, and it looked like shit. And all of a sudden, I seen he had a cage over there, and it was like 3 feet tall because they couldn't do it. Wow. So they were hitting it the whole time. It wasn't a bad deal. It was just he knew that they were hammering it. Like that's why he put it in. I mean, he's got winter wheat out there, pumpkins, brassicas. I mean, everything out there for him. Clover, the whole 9 yards. And yeah, you can see a lot with that too. Like, I don't suck. It's just there's a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't the product. So we had even talked about that, and I mean, we haven't talked about it since that day that I brought it up to you, or the couple times in conversation last fall of just trying to fence off an area and saying, okay, what would actually make the most sense? Because really, you want to be able to keep them coming in close for bow season, and then as we get to gun season, you know, they can be 70, 80, 100 yards away, and that's fine. Do you find yourself recommending that, or will people just do that on their own to just try and like almost have stages of where their food plots will be, I guess, quote unquote, active?
Yeah, that's kind of more on the consulting side. That side, I just want to help them get the thing rolling. Like I said, people asking where they should put their plots. Like I don't hunt your ground. I don't know where the deer are coming from.
Right.
But like just on one of the farms I hunt, I think there's 3 different herds of deer on that 60-acre field, and it depends which way the wind's blowing from is where they're coming out of. Because deer from the north have never been on the cameras on the south side of the farm. So I learned that this year just watching them. But yeah, then going back to your foraging question, I was spraying this past summer beans and doing 12 miles an hour in the sprayer, 90-foot booms, and looked down over by my tire to make sure I wasn't running anything over. Deer had picked off, I don't know, 300-400 foot straight. They just walked right down the bean rows and pulled the tops. And I mean, you're seeing that 12 miles an hour, 9 feet in the air, and you're like, holy crap, there's some deer out here. So
yeah. We had at the beginning of last season, we had hunted actually like pretty much from the opener, and I shot a doe on the 4th day of the season last year, specifically for the fact that there's so many deer out at his place that one of them, this big older, you know, couple-year-old doe, was just a bully, and she would kick other deer off the food plot. And from, you know, the middle of summer, we're like, okay, this has got to be the game plan, is going after that one specific doe. And she knew exactly where the redneck was, and she was super like leery of it. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna switch up the game plan, and I'm gonna just go sit on the field edge, and I'm gonna kind of brush myself in. I'm sending him pictures from the field edge, and I'm like, he got no beans over here. Everything is gone already. It's just nubs. And it's like there were just so many deer out there. I mean, he had trail camera pictures of, you know, 10 mature does that are out there feeding for 3 hours. And all of a sudden you come back the next day and there's nothing left around the edges.
Yeah. And it's not a run in there and get a quick snack. It's not, hey, let's stop at Quick Trip or Casey's or run in and grab a beef stick. No. These guys come in and sit there for like 3 hours. Like I literally I got rocks in my bag. So on my on my stand, we don't always sit. The rednecks are there for convenience, but I have stands and stuff and hangers, and we got ladder stands and stuff like that. I literally bring rocks in my bag so that I can whip them out there and get them out. And it'll bounce and they'll be like, whatever, and they keep eating. It's like you can't.
They don't care.
They don't care. Sometimes they'll even sit down and just eat around themselves. They gotta maybe instead of an electric fence, I'd electrocute the ground for a little while.
Don't do that.
It's crazy.
No, don't do that.
I'll get in trouble. Better apologize. I would never do that. I'm being sarcastic.
Oh man. Yeah, it's interesting to see that though, because it's like, how do you even battle that then? You know, it's not like we're talking about a 40-acre, field that there's an abundance, but yeah.
And even like a lot of these guys will have a 3-acre plot, but it's in the middle of the woods and the trees are overhanging on it so bad. Like the first 15, 20 feet of the plot aren't getting enough sunlight to,
right.
And you don't realize it, but not until you're farming and you're watching a monitor, them outside rounds are the largest percentage of your acreage because the perimeter.
Oh, interesting.
That there's a lot of food source there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Would you say there is a problem of overseeding? I think sometimes I get lost because as I'm going and I'll hand seed. We don't have a driller. I don't drive anything. I don't drill. I hand seed it, and I always, again, I've learned this over the years, overseeding, if I'm not, am I right, is bad. Overseeding is bad.
Depends on the product, but yeah, like typically with your clovers, you're never gonna have too much out there. Your brassicas, you can. Um, now there's also a point where there's rates out there that I don't believe in, or because they're too little. Um, but like, can you plant corn at 140,000 seeds per acre? Yes, I did it on accident. It was expensive, but it did work out. It still produced a cob, but I wouldn't recommend it. Um, so
Yeah.
it'll still turn out. It just won't look great, and it probably got expensive if you put too much on. But yeah, there's products you can definitely overdo, but it will still grow. It's just the outcome.
So when you do your corn, is every seed is at 12, 14? How what's the distance between seed, seed, seed?
Uh,
Is that 12, 14 inches?
Typically about 6 inches.
So
Yeah,
6. And then overseeding, like you just said, if you would go every 3 inches, obviously they're pulling from the same food source, water
yeah.
source. The up can't
Your
succeed and the down can't
your
succeed
leaves got
because it's
smaller
fighting.
because there was more competition, so it couldn't get enough
Yes.
sunlight in there to photosynthesize to put your sugars into the crop you're actually trying to harvest.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Way
Huh.
too much
So
information.
in a sit. Oh,
Way
say
too
that
much
again.
information.
No, that's
You
okay.
signed.
If
I'm
you had somebody come to you and they have this problem of just like overfeeding and overpopulation, do you kind of have a go-to recommendation there of like maybe it does make sense to do clover underneath and then you are doing beans or something else that's going to grow taller so that they have something tall to feed through, but then there's undercrop there as well, or does that not work?
Yeah, we've got a couple different products that we kind of move that way. One thing is like I had some brassicas broadcasted into a cornfield on the farm one time, and my whole goal was to, after we combine the corn, graze the cows on it. And I show guys pictures of
Okay.
that, and I'm like, okay, if you're already putting the corn out for your deer, and then you come back through and broadcast your brassicas, like I don't know why they'd leave your property, but you're getting all sorts of food out here. And then, so I mean, yeah, there's products like that. You can do that with your beans too, like a forage bean, and then come back through with like overcast or a product like that. It's a brassica.
Well, I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting more food out there, growing multiple times a year to keep the deer, um, you know, fed because they're consuming a lot.
Yeah. Uh, are you doing, and maybe this would, I guess I probably know the answer to this, but different plants or crops would grow at different rates. So are you going in and say June 15th, you're doing your first round? Are you immediately going back over that then? Or are you waiting like a month or waiting 2 weeks to do like, your casting of
Nope.
brassicas or whatever that might
So
be?
the obvious like the corn I would have planted mid-April, beginning of May, and then you want to wait to broadcast the brassicas in a plot like that. Um, Once the tassels come out and the leaves are starting to turn, that's when they start to droop. So down to the ground's actually getting sunlight, so that them plants can actually
Hmm.
get going. Because otherwise, if you get it out there too early, they sit there in the dark and they've they've germinated, but they've got no sunlight to photosynthesize to make the sugars to put the leafy product on.
Yeah.
So there's a timing aspect, and like on your beans, the easiest way to tell a guy is to wait till they start to turn yellow. Like not completely yellow, but when they're starting to turn yellow, because once they turn fast. So get out there when they're starting to turn yellow, and then by the time your brassicas have germinated, you'll have lost a lot of leaves by then, and not lost them, but they've turned and started drooping. You get more sunlight down there, so they can excel, and the brassicas take
Yeah.
off. So there's a timing aspect.
That makes sense, though.
Oh yeah.
Seeds.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it's covered and you can't. Yeah. Yeah. We had talked about like maybe that is what needs to happen this year, of like doing something like that where there is almost like a secondary undercrop, that maybe it sprouts later and it starts growing a little bit, after the fact. Man, we've just, and you guys aren't that far away from where we are. It just seems like the last couple of years have just been such an odd year, odd weather cycles. For like last year was really miserable for southeastern Wisconsin because August, when everybody either had just planted or is getting ready to plant their fall crops, we got flooding all over southeastern Wisconsin, and it was just kind of like, you can't control that, and sometimes you are rolling the dice a little bit, but it just feels like,
and it did.
Where do you go?
It came in spurts like that. Like I believe the crops were harvested. We do a lot of greens. I do a lot of greens, your brassicas, your rapes, your clovers, because the ag fields around me have the corn bean rotation. So they stage in my area before they go into the corn. Let's just say there's corn out there. They feel a lot more comfortable. It's taller. It's protective. They feel secure. When there's beans out in that field, they'll stay and they'll graze in my area a little bit longer. So last year to the north, there were beans. So I knew, and to the south, they had beans. So I knew that they'd be in my property or my plots earlier. They stayed longer. They consumed. But somehow it got so dry, the moisture content in the crop around here, it seemed like it must have been at an ideal level. There were no farmers around here that I talked to that would harvest, put them into a silo and burn petro to dry them out. Things were dry. And I don't know what a moisture content is, but I mean, for ideal moisture content for beans and corn, but they hit that early. Crops were gone early last year compared to years past.
Yeah, we've been having some really nice falls for harvest lately, up here anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times you see that when you get an abundance of rain in the spring and the crops don't have to put a really deep root system in, and going into harvest or mid-season, and you start to get to a drought, and this happens with food plots too. You get to the point where their root system isn't deep enough to extract moisture from the subsoil, and they kind of go into a dying phase, which turns the product, aka the corn or the soybeans, they go from vegetative to reproductive, and they physiologically mature and start to dry down or die down, whatever you want to call it. And that's just, if it's dry out, then they dry faster because they're not sucking up moisture through the root because the plants are drying faster.
Sure.
So
yeah, because we had even thought, just how is this happening? Wags goes into last season and he's like, I think I did everything right. I even went to a feed mill. I had a guy come out. I had all of these things. I'm following A through Z on what I thought would be the proper way of doing this. And then I'm like, I don't know, did it get washed out? Because it was like planted, and then like within a week, we had all those floods down here. So it's like, okay, well, is that it? And then when I sat on that field edge, I was like, yeah, it's getting torched out here.
No,
and destroyed.
And as soon as we talked about it, as soon as we drove into Indy and we ran into you guys, and I know we took a lot of your time, and we thank you for that. But you three, we stood at your booth. And you're like, okay, move on, you two knuckleheads, move on. But it was something that we had to address, and I feel very comfortable starting all over again. I want to see what you say, what you want me to do, what you want me to send to you, and what you believe, and we're going to try it, because I think we had a lot of speakers, but a lot of people that didn't know or didn't know as much as, and again, I'm going to toot your horn, because when you were talking, you were like, we knew when we walked away, we knew you knew exactly what you were talking about. And I'm like, that's the type of person we have not seen or talked to yet. So again, it's nice. So I'm anxious to start all over again, send samples and see your recommendation and tell me what I need to do.
Yeah, looking forward to it because I mean, I eat, breathe, sleep this stuff, so I just really enjoy this kind of stuff. And I don't know if you've ever met anybody that can crunch numbers tighter than I can because I'll run report after report on my fields trying to save a nickel and make the same. So
Yeah.
I truly enjoy that.
Yeah, it was nice just to, like, after we were there, because it was the night that like the awards and everything were there, and so we were kind of sitting there and everybody's starting to flood out, and as we were getting ready to walk away, your dad looks at Wags and he's like, I'm invested in this now. I need to know what's going to happen. We need to make sure that this works right for you guys, and like I just want to see how it goes, and all of that stuff, because it just feels like pain point after pain point, which is just kind of like music to a seed company's ear of like, this guy has failed, like trying to do the right thing year after year. I can't wait to be able to show that our stuff truly works, which is just like a nice, comfortable place for a consumer to be, because we all know that hunting is not a cheap hobby. So just all of the things that we put into this lifestyle and love of ours, to do it year after year and to spend all of this money and for it to not work out, it's like buying a new bow and not having it shoot right. And you're like, well, what are we doing? I thought I spent the money. Okay, well, if we would have talked to somebody at the pro shop, maybe we should have shot something different. And it's just nice to know that we kind of have somebody in our corner that like we can call on and say, hey man, look, I don't know what's going on, but we got to figure this out. So,
and your dad was probably like, these idiots. Why didn't I know that's what he was thinking, because he's so quiet. He was sitting to your right and he was just sitting there and he's probably like, these idiots. So it was good. But no, there's so many questions, so many ideas. I know it's got to be in your mind a very simple task, but for us, it's just beating our heads trying to figure it out, because so many people have an idea. And I think this is one aspect of hunting where not everybody, I know you learn over experience, but it's instead of taking 10 people and 10 ideas, you find one person and you stick with that, because that's who we got to go to.
And we've actually started a new series called Soil to Success. Because a lot of these guys have the same questions. If we can get it all out there and, go that route, and you can learn a little bit off each one. I mean, it's to me, this industry doesn't ask the hows and the whys. They just want to sell you something. That's why I like the hows and the whys. Why it's not working for you? What do you think you're doing wrong? Well, let's do a soil test, and maybe you're not doing anything wrong. It's just your soil isn't going to do this for you yet, but we can get it there.
Sure,
we can. We just
right.
How much do you want to invest? Because this is what it's going to take.
Right. So with that, how long, I'm going to probably ask a lot of stupid questions. How long from the time that you actually fertilize your food plot or your land, how long would you wait to retest? Is there like an absorption time, or can you fertilize and plant right away, or what would you guys recommend on something
so
like
on
that?
A soil sample side, I resample every 3 years. Some guys are 4, some guys are 5. I like every 3 because things change. Then, if you got 180 bushel corn one year, but you got 230 bushel the next year, you just take the average and say, this is what I've removed every year. Or do you want to know, like, okay, yep, my phosphorus dropped 5 parts per million, or, those kind of things. So if we get better yields, we need to put more fertilizer out if we want to maintain them yields. So same thing with a food plot. A lot of time you're not pulling, 150 bushel corn off, like the deer eat some of it, but they also defecate in there too. So you're getting some of your fertilizer back. But it's the biggest thing is just getting that sample started so we know where we're starting at and where we're trying to get to. But every 3 years is what I do. And then if you start with a spring sample, stay with a spring sample because the time of the year can make a difference on looking at your sample side by side. So if you have, a 2020, 2023, and a 2026 sample, and one was in the fall after your crop took some of the fertility out of the soil, but your other two are in the spring when you added this fertility, this fertilizer, that's going to show on your soil test. You just try to be consistent on when you're pulling it.
Yeah. When did you do yours in summer?
I do all mine in the
When
fall,
was that?
just when the crops come up.
I think I did. Yeah. I think I did mine right before. I'm going to say late. I'm going to say late August. I think we did mine late August, September.
Yep, that's what I like doing them is when the crops come off.
Yeah.
So in my situation, we will do spring because I will get it to you as fast as possible, and then we'll have a spring calendar from 2 years or 3 years from now, and that'll give us an idea. When you mentioned that, is the reason a real simple question? The reason you have a bean corn rotation, or most farmers do, is because corn removes this ingredient and beans use this ingredient, or what is the reasoning? Why, if corn is yielding a great price per, why wouldn't you plant corn straight through every year?
Well, there's a lot of guys that do. A lot of guys don't like planting beans because on the farm side, because the weeds are getting harder to control. It's pretty easy to say out of sight, out of mind on corn. It gets tall enough where the weeds usually can't get above the canopy, so they can't see it. The beans do make the soil a little more mellow, can erode more. So guys don't like that a whole lot. The bean harvest window is a little more timely. They when you were talking about moisture and moisture content, beans can go from 15% at 11 o'clock to 8% by 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that water weight you're losing, at the end of the day, if it's 3 to 5%, that's 3 to 5% less on that check that they're giving you when you sell it. So just based off the weight of the product. So that's why, like, when you said guys were just all of a sudden hammering through things, it's like, yeah, it's 3 to 5% you're losing of water weight that they weren't going to dock you for, but now you're giving them the same product with less weight. So you're getting paid
Less.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, man.
What do you guys see for as people are prepping their food plots, aside from just your soil tests, which we know is like super fundamental, when it comes to prepping your food plot, and maybe take us from prep to planting, what are some of the biggest errors or issues that people may come across when going through that process?
I mean, I don't know if there's any absolute errors. I mean, some guys don't have equipment, some guys do. We can make a food plot work, whether you got $1 million in equipment or you want to hand seed everything and broadcast.
Right.
So it just goes back to, the hows and the whys. What do we have to work with? When are you going to be able to do it? And how do you want
it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
once you get the data and you get the information, now it's just going out, applying what you determine needs to be done. We can do A, B, and C, or we do D, E, and F. Go out and do it, and then everything. Like it seems to me that if you follow the right rules and you take care of your property and you treat it correctly, you feed it correctly, you move it correctly, you water it correctly, it should be. Granted, you can't determine what God's going to do, whether he's going to rain or drought you, But if you follow this simple, all the information that you have, all the studies that you've done, whether it's farm cropping or plot lay, whatever it is, it has a formula that works, and just follow it. It just seems simple to me.
Every year's a little different, but the game plan's pretty much very similar. I guess
Well,
when
hopefully
you
this year
said the
it's
one
different.
question about what is the wrong way to do it or something along those lines, like a lot of guys assume you have to till in your fertilizer and your lime. It can, it can speed things up to building it, but it doesn't have to be tilled in. If you don't have a tiller, we can still make it work. So
Yeah.
just that's one misconception, I guess. Some guys think they got to go till it up, then spread their fertilizer, then till it back in. Um, at that point, you're making powder out of your soil, so um, you're losing all your soil structure. And when all that happens, um, probably way too much information that you really want to hear about. But all that rain you get, essentially you lost that soil structure, which the water can't infiltrate down through it, so it runs off instead of soaking down through. So because you've made it so fluffy that when it gets wet, it packs itself back down and water can't get through it. So,
And I think me as the layman or the average guy feels that the absorption rate would be better if I sprinkle it on top. Man, nothing's going to happen. But if I till it and I throw it in there, it's going to have, I don't know, fertilizer, lime, soil contact. It's going to produce, it's going to generate results much quicker than if I just throw it on the top. And if that's a misconceived notion, then, you're right. And if you could choose between either one, what would you recommend? Just on the top surface, or till it, maybe not come over a couple times, but at least spin your dirt and then fertilize? Or would you just broadcast on top of, like, if I'm coming out of the winter right now, as soon as this spring comes and the turkeys are on there, I wanted to spin it up a little bit. I just wanted to turn it. I like doing that.
that's you get a lot of that. These guys just enjoy being out there, enjoy doing the work. So that's why they overwork the heck out of it. I mean, that's fine. Like, it is what it is. It's fine. It works. I mean, I think the fertilizer and the lime would activate a little faster being worked in with being surrounded by the soil. But for the guy that doesn't have a $40,000 tractor and a $5,000 tiller, like, we can still make it work without it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Wags, you got winter rye for bare spots.
Yeah. Is that a bad myth? Is that a bad option? Is that
winter rye for what was that?
You mentioned you mentioned on the edges of food plots. I've seen, not necessarily because of canopy or cover, but I've seen on ours, a lot of my edges, and whether the animals just come out there and eat it, my edges are less fruitful, if you want to put it simply. So what can I put in there as a fast growing, in almost mid-season hunting, starts September 15th in Wisconsin, runs in the metro unit all the way to January 31st, without a snowfall, without major frosts? What do you recommend throwing in really quick for a bare spot that got crushed, let's just say early October, mid-October, and you want to hunt through, all the way through Thanksgiving?
I like clover.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah,
Clover.
I do like clover. Brassicas are quick to grow. So, I mean, as long as you can get like 4 hours of sunlight into them canopies, I think we're going to be fine. 4 hours minimum is what we kind of need. So, help a lot of guys like, yep, I get that in the morning, but the afternoon I don't. So, as long as we're getting some sunlight in there, that really helps.
From one direction or
Yeah,
another.
I mean,
it
8
doesn't
hours
matter
is
so
going
much.
to be the
Okay.
best, but if we can only get 4, that's what we got to deal with, and we can make it work. We just tailor the program a little different for each guy. Try to help them out.
Yeah. How is, you had mentioned this before, the Plot Life Soil to Success series with Victory Outdoors TV. An educational series? Is it more like an instructional
education.
How's it going? Give us a little rundown on that.
It's going well. We just started launching the program here 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I've, whatever you want to call it, dealt with a lot of people, and everybody's got the same questions, and everybody's scared to ask questions. I myself am one of them. I'm gonna go scour the internet and find answers before I raise my hand in front of a room of 50 people and ask a question. But a lot of guys have the same question, and they'll ask it in a small group and not a large group. Just like we were at a conference last summer, me and two other guys, and we were sitting at a small table, and the guys at the table would ask questions, and nobody else at the other tables would ask questions. But as soon as we were out in the parking lot, like, they were all asking the same questions. Like, well, if you guys would have had this question, we could have answered it in front of everybody instead of telling the same one 15 times. But so just, keep getting the same questions. So we're like, well, let's hammer this out and get it out to people so that way they can do the way they're supposed to do it. Or, I mean, not the way they're supposed to do it, but they have the question. Let's get it answered.
Right.
Yeah. What else do you have, Wags?
I guess the mixes, when I looked at your 2026 catalog or your pricing sheet that I picked up at the show, a lot of mixes. I'm going to say probably 100 different mixes. That may be high. Seems like you go from the mixes to the covers. Every blend, do you have a staple? Like, if this is I'm going to just say mix A and mix C, does it have 30% of this? But is there a staple product in majority of your mix groups?
I would say no. The reason we change mixes a little bit goes back to the hows and the whys again. What do you have to do to control weeds? How are you going to control weeds? If you want to put a perennial plot in and you've got weeds, I like to go to clover because we can spray butarac on it, get rid of your broadleaves. We can spray grass out on it and get rid of your grasses and save you $300 versus buying Roundup Ready alfalfa. So just kind of, if we would throw chicory in with that, the butarac would have killed your chicory. So that's why we've got a straight clover blend. And once you get your weeds established, then we can implement the chicory and broadcast that back in there. And it's easy and quick to grow. So we go that route, but it's basically just asking them questions to get you. I mean, if you're going to mow it, that's fine too. Then you can start with chicory and just plan on mowing off your broadleaf weeds. But yeah, a lot of guys want to spray, so it's easier to not kill the product you were trying to get to begin with, and just bring it back in once you've got your weeds controlled. So,
speaking of mowing, let's just say we got clovers. Do you mow? Do you like your clover plant? I mean, do we let them grow 6 inches, 8 inches? Do you like to mow 2-3 times during the year? Now food plots I'm talking. So what do you want? What creates the most thickness, the most durability, and the most hardy clover? More mowing or letting it go?
If you want trail cam pictures, mow it more often. That fresh regrowth is what they're after.
Gotcha.
You want a good stand, I like 3 times a year. But yeah, if you mowed it like a lawn, a fresh regrowth is what they're coming in for. That's what they're after, is that regrowth. But I don't want you to be out there mowing it every week. You're my dad, you're mowing 2 times a week. So. ROI ain't there.
You're like, what are you doing? Well, and that's not so bad. You look at somebody who's got a 1 acre food plot or a 2 acre food plot or whatever it might be. Okay, well, that's, not really that much, considering some people have 40, 50, 100 acres of crops that they're out there. But I guess, that plays into the equation as well, of just like overall volume of what you would actually have
And the
to
size
cut
of the
to.
equipment
So
makes a big difference too. Your 1 acre with a 4-foot brush mower is similar to a 10-acre field with a 12-foot disc spine. So
yeah,
So mine, I bought an older Cub Cadet, a 54-inch cut, and I took off the back. I raised it up about 6 to 7 inches, and it'll take me to, if I cut them all, it takes me about 4 hours to cut my plots, those clover plots, with the 54-inch cut, maybe 3.5 hours. But again, like you said earlier in the conversation, sometimes you just want to get out there. You want to get out there and do stuff, and you want to see something and feel like you're doing something. But that's why I got that Cub Cadet, because that thing, I don't care what it does. I'm not looking for a fine cut. It's in between a fine and a rough cut. I don't change the blade out all the time. I mean, I'm not looking for pristine lawn. The kids aren't going to roll, volleyballs around out there and soccer balls. It's just to cut that and get that regrowth. But I like that. And I can put in about 3.5 hours and I feel comfortable with that. And it gets a nice flush look. And it's pretty nice. Pretty nice.
Honestly, now that we have this set up differently, I don't even know how long we've been talking.
Yeah, we don't want to take much. If you're ready to go or you got to get going, I know you came on early, and again, I'm sorry about that. I was a little bit late. I wasn't sure you were coming on that early, but I just want to reiterate it. We can let you go unless there's something else. We'll throw this back into your quarters. There's something that we didn't mention or that we didn't talk about that, like you said, you go to these conventions or these get-togethers and people always seem to have the same questions. Is there a question that seems to be asked every single time that we missed, or something that you want to bring to the forefront, or something that you feel is pretty important to you that wasn't mentioned on our behalf?
No, I think you guys covered a lot of them. I mean, what products to use, why to soil test, how to do it. I mean, they're really good questions. I'll be honest. Those were good questions. Appreciate you guys asking them, because I mean, I've told the same answers over and over and over again. And I mean, because we're in the retail side of things, a lot of these guys aren't watching social media and they aren't doing podcasts, and so we're never going to get away from it. But if guys got questions, call. I mean, I don't know if there's too many other places where you can call about your food plot seed and get help right over the phone without sitting on a calling tree. Or a lot of places don't even put their phone number on their website. So
sounds like a red flag.
Yeah.
You're not going to find our stuff at Walmart either. So
Right.
You just briefly mentioned it, guys coming up to you at shows and stuff. I just looked at your trade show schedule. So we obviously talked to you guys at ATA. You guys were at the Milwaukee Sports Show.
No, we don't go to Milwaukee.
I think that was last week. No, so not that one. Okay, that's what it was. And then Open Season Expo is coming up at the end.
But we'll be at the Kalahari for Wisconsin. I can't remember what it's called.
Yep. I think that one's the Open Season show, and then Chippewa Falls has the Wisconsin Sports Show or whatever that's called, sports something like that.
Yeah, that one's 6 miles from our office. So
nice,
perfect.
Which is super.
So we don't
nice.
have to bring a ton of inventory because we can just come back and get more if we need it.
Grab it. I mean, it's right there.
You run back and forth. Dad'll just sit on the chair and talk to all the idiots. He just rolling his eyes saying, what the hell are wrong with these people?
We don't have idiots. We have customers.
Yeah. Okay.
No questions.
That's better.
Well,
better. Dad thinks I'm a customer. Not an idiot.
Oh, that's good. Well, if you are in the northern part of the state, or if you're heading to the Open Season Expo, MONSTERBUCK Seed Company will be there. You can always ask these guys questions. They were so great. I don't know. It almost felt like they were just trying to be nice to us, but we appreciate the conversation because we do have a lot of questions, and I think it's general stuff that a lot of people, you can't tell me that there's somebody out there that's had a successful food plot every year that they've tried to plant one. I just don't know that that's possible.
No, and you listen to the same stories over and over, and that's where I think it becomes redundant for you. You're in the business, you produce, you do good things for people, and you show them the right way to go, and then you see the next wave of people that need to be educated and to know how to do it, and it's almost like that revolving door. Like you will always have somebody who doesn't know how to do it or is always looking for more information.
Yeah,
Always.
and word of mouth is huge. You wouldn't believe how many guys be like, so and so came to me because, or so I came here because so and so told me, you guys had the seed and you're willing to tell me exactly how to do this and what fertilizer I need and what chemicals we can use. And there's just a lot of that face-to-face interaction that people appreciate. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
One thing that I just thought of, before we got on here, we had just talked about like some seed and just like purity and stuff. You guys actually have a standard that like a third party source, like there's a grading. I don't know if that's something specific to you or like just for seed or fertilizer companies in general, that is there a third party or something that actually like validates or verifies?
We have random testing through the state.
Okay.
And because we're bringing seed in 7 ways to Sunday, north, south, east, west, coming into here, they want to check on basically the people we're buying it from to make sure they're being honest. And then obviously they're checking on us too. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I get worried every time their vehicle shows up and it's like, oh my God, what are they going to find? And
yeah,
the lady last time, she said, you won't hear from me unless there's a problem. So no news is good news. 2 weeks later, her vehicle's back. And I'm like, oh God, what's she need now? And she's like, I said, what are we after today? And she goes, well, I've been testing your seed for long enough. My daughter's having a problem with her lawn. I knew where to come to get the seed.
no way.
There we go. Now we're
Yep.
when you got the state inspector and she's buying it from you because she's tested everything, it's like, okay, the quality speaks for itself. So
yeah, and I suppose anybody could print up a sticker and slap it on the back of a bag. So yeah, I mean, and I hate to say that, and if it is right, wrong, or indifferent, but anybody could do that. Print up and slap it on and make it look real, and it might not really be.
Yeah,
real.
and there's a lot of companies that have never had to deal with like DAT cap and weights and measures and all that. And weights and measures, the same guys that test the fuel pumps to see if you're actually getting a gallon of fuel, they show up here and test our scales to make sure our packaging is what we say it is. So it's kind of funny. I got in a conversation with them guys, and they said, we've never had anybody ask the questions that you're asking. And my simple question is like, how are these guys getting away with packaging the product the way they are? Because if they're operating out of a garage, you don't know to go there and check their scales. And
right.
So I got the answers. Nobody's ever asked them before, and can't talk. We're not going to downgrade the competition, so I'll just leave that one under my hat. But they told me
because you figure you go into you figure you go into a Fleet Farm or a Shields or a whatever, wherever you're sourcing your seed from, and if it is one of the off the shelf ones and it says that it's a 2-pound bag, I mean, how do you know that you're actually getting 2 pounds out of it? And granted, it's like, okay, if it's 1.99 pounds, not the end of the world, but if it's 1.95 pounds and you're buying 20 bags of it, you're trying to figure out your formula to get this to work right, then you're missing out on quite a bit of it.
Or if you have a 3-pound bag and they pull 1.5 pounds of seed out and put 1.5 pounds of filler in to read the
right.
It passes the weight test, but
pass the sniff test.
Yeah, the interior isn't what you're. It's not what you want, and that's not going to get you what you need. So I want 3 pounds of love. I don't want 1.5 pounds of it and then 1.5 pounds of help.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same inspector was telling me about how a competitor had special packaging, and it was going to be good for 3 years. And I looked at her, I said, well, the seed tag's only good for 1 year. How are we going to retest that once it's sealed in a package? And she looked at me and she's like, nobody's asked that question yet. And I'm like, so, I mean, here we go again. Just another marketing gimmick, ploy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that they're bags. Is there something that you have to have where there is a clear portion of the bag so you can actually see what's in the bag for seed? Or is that more just an aesthetic or a marketing thing so you can like show off the product?
For us, we want you to see the product you're buying. No fillers in there. Yes, some of it can get, a lot of your clovers are inoculated. Inoculant is a little bit of a dust, so the packaging can not always look the cleanest on the inside, but you know that your product has been inoculated, which is what your clovers need. A lot of your competitors aren't talking about that. You know, that does add a little cost on our side, but in the long run, it's the best thing for your ground.
Worth it.
Right.
But a lot of the products, like we like to have clear packaging so these guys can see it, and it says, "Hey, here's the product. We're not scared to show you.
We're legit." Yeah.
So, going back to another company, bags broke open on the truck, and supposed to be oats. There was 5 different species of products in there. Very well known. Very well.
Oh man!
Next thing you know, they're putting it on their seed tag that there's not just oats in
here. Yeah.
Because we got busted.
That semi truck flipped over. You know what? If there was like a spill like that somewhere, I'd probably be the first one to go find it. If it was like a beer or a seed company, those would be the ones that I would go find.
Yeah, that would be a good day there.
Yeah. Well, good, man. Cody, why don't you just how can we find you? How can we find everything about MONSTERBUCK Seed Company? Where do we find you on like Facebook, Instagram, website, all that?
Facebook is my name. You're not gonna see much hunting content on there. Mine's pure farming, so
all farming.
I do have TikTok. There's a little bit of hunting on there. Mainly farming and cattle. That's my passion. But as the kids are getting older, we're doing a lot more hunting. Daughter even pulled me out of the combine and beans to go youth hunting. So it's like, nice. Wind's not blowing very good. Let's just stay in the combine. We can probably get going till like 10, 11 o'clock tonight. Dad, I want to go hunting. Okay, yep, we're going. So
she knew.
MONSTERBUCK.com. I think
and is your sister is the Elk Mountain Seed Company the sister company, the main company, the farming company? MONSTERBUCK is your food plots and your mixes for that, and Elk Mountain Seed Company is
mother company.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever you call that, the parent company. There you go.
That's
yeah, that works.
Couldn't think of it either.
Let's not overcomplicate
it. Parent company. There you go.
Well, good, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, I mean, I don't even know how long we've been talking. I feel like some of these conversations can go on forever. So we appreciate you coming on. We'll actually put the links and all of that stuff just in the description of the show too, so we can just get everybody directed right to the MONSTERBUCK Seed Company stuff. And then, Wags, are you going to the Wisconsin Dell show, or?
I think I might be up there.
You're going to try and get up there. I don't know if we're going yet or not. I know my brother had asked me about it. So if I do, we'll make sure to stop by and chat with you guys again, and love to catch up. And maybe, that's like next week, I think. All right. No, it's the last weekend of the month. So,
and then I'll get a game plan. We'll get a game plan with you, and we'll sit down off the air or something, or next time I'll give you a call and we'll figure out what the steps are for me to proceed, and how you can help me and get our plots down here taken care of. That would be great.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. All right. Well, another one in the books. For Paul Wagner, it's Eric Tasker. This has been the Flipping Sticks and Throwing Lead podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Cody. I appreciate it.
You bet. You guys have a good day.
You too.